Hello everyone, welcome back to the Hindu Explainer series. I am Kushagra Goyal and very warm greetings from Dr. Tutorial. So, as we close this week for the current affairs, it's very important that you make sure that you do your revisions about everything that we have discussed throughout the week, right? So, I know that a lot of you have been asking this that every Sunday I should do a brief of what we have done throughout the week. So, beginning this Sunday newspaper onwards, I will open the newspaper recording with the important news that we have discussed throughout the week so that you all get a reminder that these are things that we have done. The most important news in this week has been the Israel Palestine dispute, so we'll be talking about that. But on the side also, what has been important for us is the coronavirus variants. So let's dive into the newspaper analysis. The one big headline of today's newspaper is about how both the two vaccines that we have approved till now, both of them are less effective against the new strain, which is also has primarily been found in India, that is B1617 strain. So that both these vaccines have 50% less efficacy against this variant, which shows that the coronavirus, as it mutates, the fight against COVID-19 isn't over even when we get vaccinated. The fight will carry on. So which puts us, from exam point of view, what becomes important for you all is, while we have already discussed what these vaccines are, the strains and what effect they have become important to be discussed. Alright, so the B1617 strain, which has been put by WHO as a strain of concern for entire world, is important for us. On the side, we have now got the third vaccine rollout, which is Sputnik 5, which is the Russian vaccine. We did an in-depth analysis of this vaccine way back in the month of November 2020. So for all those who have no idea what this vaccine is, it is a adenovirus vaccine. It has two different kinds of human adenoviruses, also known as common cold virus, which is used to create antibodies for coronavirus. So this is the third vaccine that has been approved in India. Dr. Reddy's Pharmaceutical will be the Indian company that will be manufacturing it. On this side, so there is this one news on environmental point of view, which is that related to the US slider turtle. So a lot of you must have seen turtles being used as pets in Indian households. And it is the US slider turtle which has become the most prominent one for pets. But the slider turtle is not native to Indian environment. And a lot of households so turtles can live up to 70 to approximately 150 years old. That's how old they can become. But not every household that gets a pet can able or has the space to actually keep a pet of such large size. So what households do is they put the turtle into river streams or forests and hope that they survive. That's the hope. Now, reports have been published in India that this turtle, because it's a foreign species and our environment is not, different species originate in different areas, evolved in different areas based on the lifestyle and the environment in those particular areas. Now the red-eared slider turtle, the scientific name Trichimus crypta elegans, is not native to Indian environment, and it poses a real threat to the environment and the survival of other Indian turtle species, which is 29 of them. Then now the risk is that Indian ecosystem is not abundant with resources. Secondly, the slider turtles consume far more quickly whatever resources are available, and they populate at a higher rate also, which puts the space. So in nature, just like human, cities also have limited capacities, right? So these turtles can put them at threat. Now we are discussing this because today's newspaper has a lot of environment related news. So therefore, this is one. In case we get a free question related to environment, we should be aware of it, and as it is part of our current affairs news, so we should discuss that. Then moving on, there are pictures of people celebrating Eid at different protest sites. These are farmers at the Singh border who are offering their prayers. The protest, which puts the entire issue of farm protest as one of the other important aspects for us in current affairs. So this is part of that while everything is happening, this is something that should not be avoided or can be let slip from our attention. All right, then moving on to the news from monsoon side. So Indian monsoon is likely to arrive in Kerala by May 31st, which is by the Indian Meteorological Department. So that is important news. A cyclone is brewing in the Arabian Sea, which could categorize itself or intensify itself into a very severe cyclonic storm. So reports about that will become important for us in case it actually strikes India. Then moving on the editorial front. So the main editorial in COVID storm, key principles driven home. Adherence to them would have mitigated the traumatic fallout of the pandemic in India. Now this is policy related for health sector. This is something the government should have focused on. It's not something we can do, and therefore this is not important for us. On the left hand side, however, is an important news which is out of line. What is out of line for this? Out of line is an English phrase that, see, this is something you should not have done. This is the border, or known as Lakshman Rekha, which you had breached. What is this about? This is violation or transgression of constitutional propriety. So the constitution has certain principles enshrined, but it does not dictate day-to-day activities. Based on those principles, our day-to-day affairs of constitutional authorities are governed. So the constitution does not describe exact ways of how constitutional authorities should function, but there are principles that are there based on which practices have evolved. A governor of a state is a constitutional representative. He is part of the government of the state and is also a representative of the central government in state. There is no party allegiance that a governor has. Therefore, which once again puts the governor of Bengal in limelight. That is Jagdeep Dhandekar, who has acted less as governor and more as a politician for his original political party which has appointed him, which is the political party at the central government. It is his breach of constitutional propriety which is in question. Going back to an incident of another governor of Bengal, governor of Tamil Nadu, that is M. Chenna Reddy, that see these participation of governors on political events or partisan events or even law and order situations. See, law and order is part of state government, and so a governor taking a stand at any particular point puts his government, which is the state government, in question. So therefore those are practices that are seen as not to be done at all and are limitations on the governor's office that has been developed as part of constitutional propriety. So it is this that puts into limelight. Now what can be asked from us related to this? So what is the position of the governor? What is the role of the governor? What is the role of the state government? So the governor is a constitutional authority. The chief minister and his council of ministers are also constitutional authorities. Public order and police is state subject and not a central subject. Secondly, the governor acts on the aid and advice of his chief minister and his council of ministers, right? So constitutional provisions related to this and the conflict between governor and the state government is something that puts or is important for us. Then the second editorial, lend a helping hand to children the right way. What is this about? So a lot of children have sadly become orphaned because of coronavirus. and therefore there have been a rush to either adopt them or provide assistance. So this editorial talks about the entire mechanism of how that can happen. All right, for us from CLAT examination point of view, this is of limited assistance per se, because adoption as an aspect for current affairs or legal is not purview of students of law, right? It's something more advanced, so there is limited scope of this happening. The other editorial is far more important, which is Seize the Fire. What is this fire? The fire between Israel and Palestinian at the Gaza Strip. So Gaza is a strip southern tip of Israel border. It is a landlocked prison, and this editorial calls that, see, Israel does have a right to defend, but it does not. So whenever, let's say, someone slaps you, you have a right to self-defense, either to protect his slap or maybe in self-defense you slap him and run away. Let's say someone slaps you. Can you then use a stick to kill him? Can you use a knife to kill that person? No, that would not be use of proportionate self-defense, right? That is exactly what the situation in Palestine and between Israel and the violence that is happening in Gaza is being amounted to. Let's see, Gaza did fire rockets. Rockets were fired by Hamas in Gaza. However, Hamas is a non-state actor with very limited resources, while Israel is a sovereign state backed by international sovereign countries such as US, United Kingdom, and has immense resources to fight. And in under the garb of its right to self-defense against Hamas, it has now unleashed a reign of violence, of airstrikes at different locations in Gaza. Gaza is already a landlocked area, which from sea and land by Israel, and as part of diplomatic pressuring, Egypt, which is the southern border of Gaza, also does not allow people living in Gaza to move anywhere, which creates the world's largest human prison. Now, from CLAT perspective, what becomes important for us? Right to self-defense as an international right. So, international right, every country also has a right to self-defense. When we conducted airstrikes at different terror launch pads in Pakistan, that was also a preemptive right to self-defense, that we know these terrorists will attack us, so we take a action against them. That is part of self-defense. But could we, because we know that certain terrorists are there in Pakistan, fire nuclear weapons on the entire of Pakistan? No, that is not proportionate right to self-defense. So the right to self-defense and use of it proportionately becomes important for international affairs. The second part of it is related to the Iron Dome defense system. So what is this Iron Dome defense system? It is a specific defense mechanism for rockets, right? So basically it fires rockets of its own. It matches the trajectory of a rocket that is coming, fires its own rocket to destroy or subsidize that rocket effect and protect the bombing from taking place. So it is these sophisticated weapons that Israel possesses against Hamas, and therefore it is a disproportionate right to self-defense that is now happening. Then on the ground zero, it talks about how Mumbai handled the second wave so much better and what it did and how it protected that from happening. Then on the other national news, so parliamentary panels. Parliament has been limited functioning. We have only had 2 sessions of the parliament last year also, and this year we had a very curtailed budget session. At the same time, parliamentary panels, which are the main sphere where legislative function takes place, because everything cannot be discussed in the parliament, we have different parliamentary committees. These house panels have not met since the pandemic hit last year. And the reason why is of the confidentiality clause that exists. Opposition members have been asking the government to waive this for these committees to take place, these meetings to take place, but the government has stated unless changes are made in the laws of these parliamentary committees, this cannot happen. So this is the confirmation that Venkaiah Naidu, the chairperson of Rajya Sabha, and Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla have clarified that unless the confidentiality clause is amended, no parliamentary meetings can take place. Then moving on the other national news. So we have now received report that over the past 10 years, 186 elephants have been killed on railway tracks by trains. So this is the total number of elephants that have passed away because of train track events or accidents, which is huge, which is humongous, that steps need to be taken to protect this animal because of human activities. These are not fault. Train tracks are there in forest areas, and therefore this is not the fault of any animal, and therefore the onus lies on humans to ensure such an event doesn't take place. So this is the report. On the side is a very sad tragedy that has taken place in Assam. Approximately 18 elephants have passed away because of lightning strike. It is a freak accident, but however breaks your heart. 18 such elephants, you can see their pictures, all lovely looking animals who have passed away because of lightning strikes in Assam. So this is something that is now being probed, that how this happened and what can be done to prevent such accidents from taking place in the future. Then moving on the international news. So on the international front, obviously the news is related to the conflict between Israel and the Gaza Strip. And here you can see pictures of the Iron Dome defense system in work. So there are trajectories of rockets fired by the Iron Dome defense system to protect against rockets fired by Hamas. So which puts into highlight what is the Iron Dome defense system. Now the nomenclature of dome comes important basically from the one more important architectural structure in Israel, which is the Dome of Rock. So Dome of Rock is the holy place. It is the holiest, third holiest place of Islam. It is considered holy in Christianity and Jewish folklore also. So that architectural marvel in itself, and the name therefore is the Iron Dome system. Now what is this? Iron Dome system is a multi-mission system capable of intercepting rockets, artillery, mortars, and precision guided munitions, like very short air defense. Alright, so basically the purpose is to intercept and attack rockets, artillery guns, mortar fired, or any other aerial objects. The range of the Iron Dome defense system is up to 70 kilometers. Alright, it is manufactured by Rafael Advanced Defense System and has been in service of Israel Air Force since 2011. Now the system is also mobile. So the mobile version of the Iron Dome defense system is known as I-Dome, and Sea Dome is the naval version of it, which can be used on ships. So the trajectory, what is the Iron Dome defense system, is something. So you all know last year only in CLAT we did get a entire passage related to Rafale aircraft. So therefore Iron Dome defense system is part of Israel-Palestine dispute. It has been seen for the very first time at work. It is, and it has 90% efficacy even right now, that approximately all the missiles that Hamas has fired, most of them have been intercepted by the Iron Dome defense system. It has high efficacy ratio, and Israel has put in place multiple of them in various cities to protect. So here you can see at least 4 of them being at use in one small area itself, right? So this is the multiplicity of the Iron Dome system. Now what are the limitations? Limitation is that if a trajectory is too low, or if this entire system can have or been overawed, that there is a limitation, upper limit of how many missiles it can intercept. Right now it is being claimed that it can have approximately a upper limit of up to 5 lakh, that or approximately around 1 lakh missiles it can intercept at once, which was humongous. However, these interception missiles are considered very expensive, that is 40 to 50,000 US dollars per intercepting missile, which shows the amount of resources that Israel possesses. Therefore, it confirms what we discussed at the editorial section, that this is a disproportionate right to self-defense that Israel is claiming. However, the Iron Dome defense system, part of defense plus the Israel-Palestine dispute. So what it is, multi-mission system capable of intercepting rockets, artillery, mortars, precision guided missiles, plus different helicopters or UAV drones. The upper limit is 70 kilometers. It is an all-weather system, can be deployed over sea, land, and can also be mounted on mobile carriers. It has an upper limit which is unknown. It has been in service of Israel Air Force since 2011. It is manufactured by Rafael Advanced Defense System in Israel itself. Alright, so this is a very advanced interception mobile system. Alright, then moving on. So the pullout of US forces continues in Afghanistan, while at the same time the conflict between Taliban and the Afghan forces intensifies. At the same time, China, which is the manufacturer of multiple raw materials that are needed and of different assistance of oxygen concentrators and other medical equipments to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, has stated that raw material shortage and demand is driving up prices of supplies in China. Then there is news, one positive and then one is update. So first, in US, people who have now been vaccinated with both doses can now stop wearing masks. So the US is moving towards the phase where it is reaching herd immunity based on mass vaccination. The second news is KP Sharma Oli has been reappointed the Nepal Prime Minister. Why? Because opposition till now has been failed to come up with an alternative. Now he will get 30 days to prove that he has confidence in the House, that majority parliamentarians support his government. This is under Article 76 Clause 5 of the Constitution. So this is, we are, the cycle of Nepal political crisis is going back to the same place where KP Sharma Oli was the Prime Minister. He suspended and dissolved the parliament, which triggered the cycle. Opposition parties claimed that, see, this person doesn't have majority, cannot dissolve the parliament. Supreme Court accepted it, reconvened the parliament, opposition failed to have majority, and now the ball is in KP Sharma Oli's court. Whether he will be able to prove majority or not, that is to be seen. Then on the economic side, nothing of real note for us, and same on the sporting front either. So on that note, I will conclude for the day. In terms of news, the Iron Dome defense system of Israel-Palestine dispute, the right to self-defense and the proportionality clause in that, those are important news from Israel-Palestine. Then KP Sharma Oli being reappointed as Prime Minister of Nepal, that is important news from Nepal crisis point of view. Then on national news, we discussed about the efficacy of Covaxin and Covishield vis-a-vis the new strain of coronavirus, which is B1617. So that becomes important. And lastly, parliamentary panels and the confidentiality clause. So on that note, I'll conclude for the day and I'll see you all tomorrow.